my primary strategy on Sorare this season with my classic cards has been to win in-seasons to sell for profit, to either further the in-season strategies that I am working with in particular, or just maybe to, yield and play from the game, etc. And I've managed to do that to some good effect, and we've had some nice videos on the channel of winning some cards, flipping them, and then turning them into, like, filling out, like, a Celtic collection or playing a Road to Glory limited strategy, that kind of thing. But the biggest card, in-season card I've won, maybe not necessarily market value-wise, because I do think Dominic Fitz was probably that even still at this point, but in terms of like Champion Europe, the big leagues, world-class talents, etc., the biggest card I've won this year has been Castello Luqueba, and I've hung on to this. Now, conventional wisdom for a lot of Sorare managers would be to, sell the guy and, then either buy a classic version and just continue to use it, or buy not just a classic him, but a classic somebody else, and try and do, just some improving on the gallery in that way, which I can totally get behind, as well as perhaps building a team around him, which is something I'm maybe a little bit more open to. I've got pre-existing Bundesliga classic cards, in particular Leipzig collections, of course, as some of you will know. I've got David Rom as a classic, as well as some other key players in the team at the moment. And Luqueba still goes for a pretty penny. It's about £100 to £120 on recent sales. There will be market credits involved in that, so it's hard to get a true gauge of really where the value in the market is at. But all things considering, since I won him, he's been a card that I've been able to play and use every single week, which is fine. But I'm now maybe thinking and hoping and feeling that with a card that powerful, if I was certainly to get one more crafted, perhaps, I would... it would be quite easy for me then to move into Bundesliga and try and open that up as a champion hot streak league that I could go after, just to try and play streaks if nothing else. And even in this kind of nice entry level, success is a much lower bar. Hitting streak number 3 really would be maybe job done, depending on how clever we can be with this. And Sorare recently did a patch notes update on Friday or Thursday last week, and I found it really, really interesting, because one of the things we've been kind of missing in the Sorare ecosystem is an ability to kind of theory craft lineups and kind of imagine, like, okay, so let's say we're going to play Bundesliga in season rare, right? Let me think about that, right? I've got Vasilj as a classic goalkeeper I can play. I've got Luqueba, who's that in-season defender. And let's even go into the extra spot and just say who's the best. Oh no, well, I can't actually, so I've used the goalkeeper. But if we did get an in-season goalkeeper, if that ever became available to us as an alternate option, who would be the best classic outfielder I've got? And you might have some better up, like a Kane or an Elise or a Kimmich or something like that, depending on what you've got. But mine might be like a Rom or an Amiri. And I've got some other guys that score well here. We can maybe pick out depending on fixtures or whatever. Not a huge selection here, as you can see, but there's certainly enough. It's certainly big guys like Rom, so that's kind of good to see. But if we click on either this market tab up here or this view more button over here, what we can start to do is really fill in the gaps for real. Now, the only limitation to this is the players that show up are on instant buy. So it doesn't show you secondary market for now, and because of that, it is also a limited pool of players. This isn't as good as scouting, but if we can open up a secondary tab and scout in general, we can then go and find players, search them, and try and plug them in if they have an instant buy available. Equally, we can just click on all the bar graphs, and we can see everything on this page anyway in terms of their form and etc., so on and so forth. These are rare cards, so obviously at limiteds we've did lots of Road to Glories where we're buying players at £4, £5, £2, £15, etc. Vukovic, who we brought in for the weekend, was a very expensive acquisition we traded into. He goes for circa £20 at point of recording. But one player I've had a wee shot at trying this out already in some aspects, but like Bundesliga is not a cheap, rare just in general is a lot more expensive than limited, so like just picking up a team isn't quite as easy. Like I've got a wee bit of a wallet sitting there, but it would pretty much, like Baumgartner 65 on instant buy, we would have some credits obviously that would help with that, but we're not able to go and buy a team with this kind of little win that we're on right now. We'd probably need to wait until the international break perhaps to get some more credits and some more cash into the wallet before I could maybe venture in and field a team. But I've got some essence. I might craft a W as well. So I'm now starting to open the door to this strategy, thanks to this new feature Sorare I've got probably in particular. Baumgartner 65, Ouedraogo 76. I like both of these guys. I think Ouedraogo is just a bit more of who should, like if I was to pick a fantasy team out of these guys, I'm looking at Ouedraogo. Joe Chima Fujita is kind of interesting at 27, but that's just my sentiment talking rather than optimization. But look at the price of forwards in this division. See, because the top 3 are so far ahead, or maybe even the top 4, if you include Jurassic in there. I know it's a special ed, but still super priced, isn't he? Bundy forwards are quite punchy, man. Diamandi I could have bought a month ago for like 30 quid. I think he was really cheap for ages. I thought if I did go into when I won the Lakeba, for example, there was a few guys I thought I could just maybe spend 100 quid on this little, and I thought, no, don't do that again, Quinny. Like, same as Sociedad, but with Leipzig, you know. Maybe I shouldn't have hesitated on that one. Be consistent, maybe, is part of the motto there. And maybe there's some guys like Thiago Tomas at 36 is some way appealing. But look at that, Boniface 100. It's definitely a name one, isn't it? And this is instant buy. You need to look at the secondary market. Amora at 73 is probably the best bang for buck. He's getting a bit of form now for Wolfsburg, and he looked a good player last year as well. A wee bit of this is internationals, so do remember that. But he did get an 82 at the weekend. And if Wolfsburg are scoring goals, he's kind of in the mix for it more often than not. So I quite like him. But as I kind of piece this team together, like, do I really want to buy Amora? Probably not. But the other guy I quite liked on this as well that I got from the common game, and I mentioned it with Harry on the deadline show on Friday, was the boy Manzambi. And I said to Harry, he came on my radar, and I couldn't remember why, but it was from the common mode, because my midfielders in Bundesliga common is like Pavlovic, El Canus, and him. You know, so I've been using him in common for a few weeks. I kind of forgotten about it, but he's a fun card. He's not super good or anything, and to get to like streak 3 or something, if he was cheap enough, he'd be a good option. He's currently 53 on instant buy, which I guess with credits, he's actually kind of halfway interesting, playing at Freiburg. So is Zoe Drago, I suppose, but where I'm at now, I could only buy one of these guys, and committing to a team with just buying one more piece feels a bit premature. But I love this feature, and it's really good for theory crafting. So if I was to go and, you know, I'm not going to, right, so don't try and tempt me, but if I was to go and craft on all my essence I've got here, I've not really got anything that, it would have to be lucky out of All-Star to pull anything from there. And I've got a bunch more coming this weekend, as it seems. We had a good one, and we've got a good one coming from Champion, I think, down at one of those teams, 1600. I can't remember what one it was, but I'm sure the Ferran Torres team, I'm sure was pulling as a nice wee chunk. So that'll help flavour that essence when we go to pull it. Yeah, if this can hang on to 40th, yeah, we don't want to slip into 51st. I think we're doing alright. Sadly, the captain's maybe the thing that might undermine us. That's a decent team. So yeah, if we can hang top 50, a nice 1,000 champ essence to go in with that essence I've already got. And then I'm just going to be waiting for the international break, I think, because I've got the midweek coming up, and then we'll have a weekend. So I'm going to keep all my essence for now. And I'm thinking coming into and out of the international break, I might try do something with that.